Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Proof 3 podcast. Today, we are talking about the assault bike or the Echo bike or the Airdyne, whatever you have available. You need a fan bike for the 10-minute assault bike test. The goal, the road to 200 cals, 170 maybe for the ladies, 175. That'd be crazy, actually.
Yeah, that'd be a lot. It'd be more like 150.
160.
Yeah. 170. I've seen, I think I saw 173. I had somebody do that because I was getting lactate scores on her. That was interesting, but she was like an anomaly on the bike. So 170, like 173, 174.
Yeah, 10 minutes on the assault bike. If you haven't done it, you've probably heard of it. And if you haven't done it, you're probably just scared because it is a scary test. It's a pretty tough one. It reminds me of one time when I was working with Marcus, we did it and I didn't really know how to pace it. So we did like a 5-week progression, which, spoiler, we're talking about a progression today, but I did a 5-week progression where it was every Friday AM. I did the 10-minute assault bike test, but it was a different approach each time. Like the first time it was, I had to, get faster every 2 minutes, but I had to start at a pretty tough pace. Then it was like, 5 minutes at X pace, which might've been like an average of whatever I held. And then 5 minutes that I had to hold above that. And it was just kind of different stuff. And then finally it was the 5th week. I never wanted to do it again. And I was getting in between like 170 and 100, maybe 170 and 185 cals each time. And the best time was me just trying to hold one pace. Spoiler. Yeah. But yeah, I got a lot of experience in 5 weeks.
I was gonna give a brief history on it in case those aren't as familiar with the history of it. So, to my knowledge, the genesis of this test came from Mark Twight, who developed Jim Jones, and the test he had was called 300 FY, which meant like 300 FU. For the old Airdynes, which could you get 300 calories in 10 minutes on it, which was equivalent to 200 on the assault bike. Because assault bikes came out, that would have been maybe 2013-ish, 2012 maybe. So in the earlier CrossFit years, 06 to 2012, you would use an Airdyne, which those were pretty sporadic across the board in how they would read cals, but the standard was 310 minutes. And that was the test they came up with. I don't know more than that, but that's what it was. And then that, of course, because Mark had some influence in the early days of CrossFit, connection to it. So that kind of got adopted into the CrossFit space. And then James really took that on board and made that, I think, even more popular, and also made it like a proxy for performance in the sport. And so he started to collect data and give you ranges for like what would be a great time at different levels of competition. And it turned into 200. And then OPEX came up with a body weight adjusted score. And then I believe the goal was like over 330 or something. And it's like it's a proprietary equation or calculation they have. I think it might be in CoachRx. I think it's built into there. So that's what the test was. And there's good applicability to CrossFit because it is 10 minutes. And like the average open workout is 12 to 13 minutes long. The average quarterfinal workout's like 10 to 12 minutes long. So it sits inside of the time domain, only thinking about time, that you have to work at a really high rate inside of the sport of fitness. So it can give you a good insight into a single fitness metric, which is work capacity on that machine. Just because you get 200 calories doesn't mean you're going to be great at thrusters and burpees, but it can act as a supportive element for your battery of tests that you use to determine performance and improvement in the sport. So that's a brief background of the test and why I still use it with clients and specific to you because because you did it recently. And so we're going to kind of walk through it, the progression we did, why we did it that way, and also it being a great progression you can use for your own train if you wanted to do the test yourself. And I think optimistically, if you did this approach for 4 weeks, I think you might PR your bike test if you actually go for it. So listen in and you'll walk away with a good approach for this test on how to train for it.
Yeah. Yeah. And another thing, it definitely makes you feel more comfortable on the bike. If improving your 10-minute score, like you said, it's not going to necessarily it's not going to make you better at burpees, but it can help in other areas generally. And then you can build upon that. But also there's a lot of competitions where the bike's present, where, multiple, whether it's Echo Bike or Rogue or the Assault Bike, it's going to be in there and it can help you improve your fitness around that or comfortability. Or if you have such a bad score, then it might really be able to help you in a lot of areas.
Yes. That's in my coaching brain. That's something I look for if I give the test to somebody and their score is really low, meaning for a guy who's at least 80 kilos, 175 pounds or heavier, and he's not getting over 150 calories. That's a really poor score. Then we will work on boosting that. Doesn't mean they need to get up to 200, but improving in that will translate to some components of the sport. Better muscle endurance in the quad, potential improvements in VO2 max, better tolerance and exposure to the bike. Your maximal sustainable pace on the bikes can go up a bit. So in the midst of workouts with the bike, you will be able to hold higher output. So there is usage for it, but it's one of those, once you get to a point, you don't need specific work for it anymore. You need to integrate it. Like for a 2K, if you can row a 2K as a male at a 630, you don't need to keep dropping your 2K. You need to start getting better at rowing with other things. So there is an endpoint with the bike where you don't need to keep getting better at just for the sake of getting better at it. You have to transform it into what you actually want, which is getting better at the sport.
So that answered my first question, but then we move into why we prescribe it, which we're kind of talking about, but to use it as an assessment tool. And it's super simple. And if they're going to be on the same bike, it's going to give us some pretty solid data to where there's not a lot of other outside factors, bearing it's not, 30 degrees one day and 100 degrees the next day, but it's really easy to replicate, and it's like a single number score. So you're looking at it, I went from 150 to 175, that's like a 20 or an 18% increase. That's really good. So you can get direct data. And then you can also actively see the pacing and see, to me, that's not the biggest reason, but knowing someone can say like, oh, I held 64 RPMs the entire time, felt really strong with it. And then they can directly use that in training and talking about, hey, hold your 10-minute assault bike test for this pace, or we're going to go maybe a little above, or you should probably be below on this workout for X and Y reason, or just themselves as the athlete can refer back to it and kind of get an idea of like, wow, I just did a 20-minute workout. It had 15 cals in it, and I held my 10-minute pace the whole time, and it had burpees and push-ups in it, or burpees and pull-ups, and they were able to do that. It's some small notice things. But those are just a few reasons I like to prescribe it as well.
It gives a lot more context on what you can maintain versus what you can't maintain, because in the midst of a lot of competitive events, qualifiers, or sports specific training pieces, you have to, of course, choose a pace that's appropriate for whatever the work is. And when you know that your maximal pace for 10 minutes is X, say 70 RPM, then that's going to help influence what pace you need to pick when you perform your sets of work or your qualifier. And same with the 2K row. If you know your 2K row, which let's just say is between 6 and 7 minutes or 8 minutes, and that's your maximal pace on the road for that length of time. Now that pace is giving you a little bit more insight on where you need to be when you do it with other things. So that's along with the physiological adaptations we're going to get from the test and improving of that, building better awareness around the machine and how, or I'm not going to say not how, I would say better awareness around the machine and the paces that you ought to be holding when you're performing certain pieces of work, so you can get a better outcome. So that's also why it's a great test.
Some sport / pacing IQ.
Yeah, and it's used a lot. I mean, the EchoBike's used mainly in all higher level CrossFit competitions and most non-CrossFit related competitions, but the Assault Bike's a great tool as well. They're comparable. Some people might argue that, but
overall
they're fairly simple. Yeah, they're fairly simple.
Yeah, no one lost a competition because they only had the Assault Bike and they didn't
exactly. Yeah, if you're pumping 220 calories in 10 minutes on the Assault Bike, you're probably going to be fine on EchoBike. And if you're not, then you're full of it.
Or maybe you're allergic to something they used in the EchoBike.
Maybe.
Real
quick, so I wanted to give context for people on like what are good scores, which is of course subjective, but for those in the performance world, specific to the sport of fitness, a good starting point is body weight. Like if you can get body weight in 10 minutes, that's great for men and women. Above that, you have over 200 for men is a great score. For ladies, I was just trying to think about that when we were talking about it earlier. I want to say 140 plus is a really good score outside of body weight. So that can give you some context on it. But that was a standard with guys for a while, was 200 in 10 minutes.
200 is good. 206 to 208 is elite. And then 208 plus doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That was just a joke compared to my score. Anywhere in that 206 to 208 range.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. And then if we'll lead into that. Is it useful for non-competitive people as well as competitive, or just say non-CrossFit related? My answer as well. Use it for clients that just love, want to improve and just love fitness. And maybe they did CrossFit, maybe they didn't, but they have an Assault Bike, or they're just interested in improving, something like that, as well as someone. Maybe do you think there's utilization for someone like in Hyrox or just running in general? Maybe they're just want to improve their running, or maybe something that's somewhat performance related, but they're never going to compete on a bike.
So non CrossFit people, it's a great simple work capacity test. So if you want one of those as a metric to use with your coaching practice for people, it's very simple and it's easy to track, and you can of course progress it accordingly. So it's great for that. If somebody's doing Hyrox, I don't think it's a good test because you just need to get better at running. The bike's not involved in Hyrox at all. So I wouldn't use it with my Hyrox people. I would just do running tests. And same thing, if you just want to get better at running, I wouldn't use it. If you got injured and you couldn't run, this would be a great way to keep your VO2 max up. So it doesn't, the deterioration from not running isn't too aggressive. So you can use it as a tool and it can help in your training of running, but building specifically for the test, trying to improve the test is not going to correlate with you getting better at running. Like you just need to go run. That's the best way to get better at running. So it can be used, but just understand, its application.
Yeah. All right. Let's go over the progression. All right. So we have a 4-week progression, 2 days a week. On the 4th week, the final day is where you would perform the test. And this is my training that I did recently leading up into my test. And it's 2 days a week, and the RPMs are in there based off of what Sam was prescribing me for my RPMs. Just to give some context. All right, so we got week 1.
Yeah. So let me explain first the approach, because this is approach layout, because this is what you can use in your own training. And you can also do this with the 2K row. I've done this. I did this personally recently, and I've done it with a few clients. And then, of course, I did it with Roman on the bike, and I have another client I'm doing this with on the bike too. So the 2-layer approach, you have, and this is from the endurance world, so this isn't like something I just came up with. You have 1 session per week where your training sets at race pace, which for Roman is the day 2. So I gave him 70-72 as the pace that's reflective of what I think he could hold for the test at the end of this progression. And I'm building duration, so length of time in the sets per week, but I'm reducing the total sets. So this is 3 weeks, 3 minutes this week, then it's going to be 4 or 5, etc. So I'm building into the time spent at race pace. The other session is a faster than race pace session. And I'm also building in duration at that pace, and I'm reducing sets each week. The speed, it does matter to a degree, because it can't be so fast you can't hold the pace, but it just needs to be faster than race pace. And you're probably going to be you're going to give them more than 1-to-1 work rest, because you're depleting their W prime, which is their finite energy source, more aggressively with these intervals than you will on the second session. So the second session, think of it this way. Let's say for easy math, 10 minutes at 72 RPM is Roman's maximum. Like his battery is 100% full for 10 minutes at 72. So 3 minutes is draining 30% of that. 30% is gone in the 3 minutes. So I have to keep that in mind with the total amount of sets and time he's going to spend on that, which is why he's getting 3 to 6 minutes of rest. Because if I gave him just 3 minutes of rest, and I've given him 3 to 5 sets, that might be not enough rest to recover enough of that battery so that by the end of the session, he isn't well below that pace, because I want to make sure he's accumulated plenty of time at that pace in the session. So back to the other day, since he's going faster than that, 74 to 76 RPM, let's assume that is 6 minutes, his max pace, just to make it easy. So I'm giving him 1 minute of that, which is, what's that, like 18% or something? One of 6. I don't know, something like that. It's less than 20%. So I'm giving him 6 to 8 sets. So I'm going to drain almost that entire battery, that whole training session. And because I'm digging deeper into that battery because he's going faster, he needs more rest to recuperate, because you don't recover the battery as fast as you drain it. So I'm giving him more than 1-to-1 rest, which is why I'm giving him 2 to 4 minutes of rest, so he can have adequate time, so he can repeat the effort for the intended sets I have. So that's the 2-layer approach. Those are the 2 ways we're laying it out, and then we're going to progress it each week and towards the test on week 4.
Yes. So day 1, I started 6 to 8 sets, 1 minute assault bike. These felt pretty good. They were a little tough, but not bad. You know, the 1 minute, that's never that bad. And I remember I was trying to rest. I think I was resting like 3 minutes on these. And then on these ones, I was resting closer to 6 minutes. The first time I had done some of these in a while at like, above 3 minutes or at 3 minutes. But yeah, they went pretty well. The cool downs were biking and, usually some type of isometric core or jump rope or something light, and felt great. But week 1 was good. I went 8 and 5 sets on both, I believe. And yeah, they were good. So then we went to week 2, which you can see, like Sam said, the above race pace decreased in total sets, but increased in the time. So we went from 60 to 90 seconds. And then here we reduced the sets and we increased the race pace to 4 minutes. Yeah. Oh yeah. Didn't increase the pace, but increased the length at race pace.
Yes. So you have,
and yeah,
you had 8 minutes the first week on the first session in total, faster than race pace. Now you have 7.5 minutes, but in 90-second intervals. Last week you had 12 to 15 minutes at race pace, 4 to 5 intervals. Now you have 3 sets of 4 minutes. You have 12 minutes at race pace. So the length of time I'm keeping the total length of time working is fairly consistent, but I'm just building into that amount that he's having to work each week.
Yeah. So the segments are getting larger. I'm holding the paces for longer periods of time. Exactly. I'm doing less sets, but I'm doing close to the same amount of work. So it's getting tougher each week, even though it's kind of the same.
It's harder, but you're able to handle it better. It's not easy, but you're able to cope better with it, and your body's adapting to it each week.
Like week two going from 60 to 90. That wasn't as it was definitely different, because you just feel like from those last 30 seconds just feels so much longer having to do that. And then the 4 minutes, that one was really bad, but to me it's only 3 sets, and you're just kind of like, it's not that bad, but it's a little bit different than what it feels like. But then when you get through it, you're like, okay, I actually feel better. A lot of the times you're like, I feel a lot better, I can do this, I can handle this. Then we get to week 3. To me, I think this was probably one of the worst ones, just because, obviously the time is extended out more. But we added another 30-second segment to this, so now it's 2 total minutes for 4 sets. So now we got 8 total minutes above race pace. These ones started to hurt a little bit more, and then the 2 minutes at the 2 sets at 5 minutes at race pace. These weren't as bad, but they weren't as encouraging as I had liked them to be, is what I remembered. I remember being like, man, I have to hold this. I have to do this, but with no 10-minute break in between. And I think I ended up resting like 9 minutes or something. I tried to do 8, and then I just remember being like, oh wait, it's time to go, and I'm rushing over there on the bike getting set. These were tougher.
So one way you could do it differently, and we chatted about this yesterday when we were chatting, the race pace session, where I had him do 2 sets of 5 minutes at race pace. You could do 65 to 70% of the race pace for the length of time, that time spent. So that would be 6.5 to 7 minutes of biking at 70, 72 RPM. That could be an additional approach you take the week out. You do a portion of the race at the pace you want to go. Do that in running. So like if you're going to do a 5K in 2 weeks, this upcoming week, you're going to run 3K at the pace you want to hold for your 5K. And if you can do that pretty well, doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but you can do it, then you're probably really prepared for the race. So that would be an alternative way you could do this. That would be less total volume. I gave him more just because.
So you're just doing one set at 6.5 minutes.
Yeah. It's like, or I'd go 7 minutes at 70, 72 RPM. So that would be an addition, or a different way you could do the session the week out from the actual race.
Okay. And then we have one more day. Day 1 for week 4 is 3-minute assault bike. So extended it out again, but only 2 sets. The first set was harder than the second set, I remember. I just kind of, by the time I hit the second set, I was like, all right, we're good. And then it was kind of over. The 1 minute at 80 RPM honestly felt amazing. It felt like nothing to me. I was thinking it would sting a little bit towards the end, but I think I had just felt, I've had that the 3 weeks of previous, you could say pain tolerance, but like just the accumulation of that much time of doing hard sets, it didn't feel that bad. I think I could have done probably like 82 and it would have stung just a little bit more, but I think anything above that, it would have really hurt. So that was good. And that helped build a little bit of confidence too, feeling it after this, because I think I only rested like 7 minutes after going into this one. Might have been less. So it made me feel good going into it, feeling like, I just did some hard intervals above race pace. Now I'm doing a 1 minute kick. I try to, frame that in my mind. Like, all right, this is my final minute of the 10-minute test. Go hard, like try and feel like that's what it's going to feel like. Envision yourself pushing, going fast. And then it was day 2, Friday PM session. I had to include that in there. I had done a full session before this, everybody. And then I did the 10-minute assault bike test, and I got 207 calories. It was about, I didn't bring my notes, unfortunately, but it was about 71 to 72 RPMs for the first 6-ish minutes, mainly 72 in that. Then I think from 6 to 7.5-ish to 8, I was kind of coming back to 71. Still in between 71 and 72, but a little closer to 71 because I was feeling sorry for myself. And I was like, I won't be able to finish it. If I want to have a good kick here, I was just being dumb. The first minute, actually, I was at 73. Forgot to mention that. I was scared. I didn't want to finish the first minute and be at 19 cals. That would just crush me mentally. And I would feel like I had to dig myself out of a hole. So I just wanted to be above 20 cals each minute. And I was like right at 20, maybe like 21 or close to that. And then the 8 to 9 minute felt good. Then 9 to 10, I was feeling good again, but that's where like the different pain starts to come in, where you feel like your insides are coming out and the breathing starts to hurt and you kind of want to vomit. There's a lot of dialogue going on there, and then you have to silence it. And then I started to go to 74 to 75 to 76 RPM, like in between 74 and 76, the last 25 seconds. And I realized, wow, I should have done this at the 20-second mark. Having 40 seconds to do this could have really pushed it more. And then I, got 207 cals, no rollover.
Yeah, it's interesting the psychology on the test and how you approach it to like set yourself up for success. And you see this in running a lot, where even the 2K I did like a month ago, or maybe it was 2 months ago now. Like my opening minute or my opening like 300 meters are a little faster than what I'm going to average for the race. And then I pull back, and people do that in 5Ks, in a mile, where it's like, it's slightly aggressive to start, but you almost psychologically, you feel like, okay, I'm on pace. I'm a little ahead of pace. I feel good. And then I pull back a little, and then it's that way you feel like you can save some for that last little kick, because you want to kick at the end. So it's interesting how we do things like that we're just playing like a game with our head, so we can figure out how to complete this as best as possible.
Yeah. My biggest fear is like, I'm 8 minutes in and I'm like, man, should I do it kind of thing. I really wasn't at 8 minutes, but I should have been thinking that. But my fear is that I will waste what I had just done the past 8 minutes, and I'll ruin the test at the end by going too early. And then the last 30 seconds, I'm slow spinning. So that's a big part of the battle, is like, don't try and kick too early, because then your whole session's a waste. You get 199. You didn't do a good job, which, that's just me. That's me putting that on myself.
Yeah.
Although there is truth to it. But that's what I didn't want. Yeah.
So this we can kind of look at more objectively. So on the first session of the last week, where you did, well, it's on the screen here, 2 sets of 6 minutes, and then 1 minute at 80.
2 sets of 3 minutes.
Sorry, 2 sets of 3 minutes. So that's 7 minutes total, well above your race pace. So if we're getting to 8 minutes, and you've gone 8 minutes at 71, 72 RPM, you probably have a good amount of your W prime, your battery, left, to where maybe even at 90 seconds, or for sure at a minute, you could start ripping it at these higher paces, because you have it. Again, I preface this, it's not comfortable, but you have the
resources.
Energy, you have the resources to actually do that. So that's partially why in the training I set up that session on Tuesday. So, and you even said it in your own words, like you felt like you could push hard for that final minute. So part of it's just going for it. Like, okay, I'm just going to go for it, this all out this last minute. Which anytime you do this bike test, that's usually, or at least in my experience, when you get to the 9th minute, it's like you just close your eyes and you go as hard as you can until it's done. And you want to be able to do that. So if you're, to your point, if you get to that point and you feel like you have nothing left, then yeah, you probably overshot it. But assuming you prepared well, you paced it accordingly for that 9th minute, then you should have enough juice where you can rip it for a whole minute and not limp across the finish line. So
I didn't have anyone there to catch me. Yeah. I didn't have anyone next to me, so it was just me. And it was like 95 degrees. And in Georgia, that's like every degree over 90 when it's humid, that's like an extra percent. So really, I need like a 5%, added to the score.
It's okay, Rowan. We don't think less of you because you did 207 counts.
I don't believe anybody when they say that. So, the 5 weeks, 4 weeks, sorry. All you have to do is 2 sessions a week. Takes about an hour with the warm up and cool down. If you're very, if you're on time, like I did an easy warm up, easy bike, and then I would ramp up to I would do maybe like 20 seconds at a hard pace, 15 seconds at a little hard pace, and then I may do like 1 10-second really hard sprint. I just like doing that to kind of ramp it up. It helps me get warm, helps me get in the mood and get really sweaty. And then I would start my sets. And I pretty much did that every week. And then the last one, I would hop off, I'd grab some water, I'd, pretend that, I'd be on the floor pretending I did something really hard. And then I'd be like, all right, I got to get up and just, start moving. Then I'd go right on the clock, set the clock and start my cool down. And yeah, it doesn't take much time doing 2 days a week, especially in the off season. If you really need to do this and you really want to do it, you'll probably improve a lot if you have a high desire to do it. But 2 days a week to offer something, if you're doing double sessions or if you have an assault bike at home or echo bike, it's not a ton of time commitment to see such a big gain. Cause I think a lot of people will gain a lot out of this from the learnings in the training, the learnings about themselves from doing paces like this. And, also improving on your 10-minute assault bike score.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think there's a lot to gain.
Yeah. Yeah. As a guideline, if you're want to implement this in training, I would try to make this its own session. I wouldn't add things to it. If you wanted to do a little bit of lifting before it, but you controlled the total volume, you could do that. Otherwise, I would just do them by themselves. So maybe Monday, Tuesday you train, Wednesday you do one session, Thursday rest, Friday you train, and Saturday you do the other session. You could do something like that. So because it's going to require not only the time commitment, as you mentioned, but it's a lot of effort and focus. And it's easier when you just have to think about this as opposed to I got to do 3-4 other things. So that would be my suggestion if you're going to use this approach for 4 weeks.
Yeah. And you gotta want it. You gotta want to improve, and you can't be too aggressive on the paces. It's really helpful if you already have a somewhat recent 10-minute assault bike test, obviously. But if not, you just need to be, you can't be too aggressive. That's it. And if maybe you need help and you want to know what your paces should be, just shoot us a message and maybe we can give you a little bit of an idea of some pacing for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to, if you do it, your goal should be that you complete everything. If you're not completing it or you're messing up a session, then it's too fast probably. So you got to be a little bit conservative. I mean, it still should stretch you, but just keep that. Like the goal is to do all the sessions so that you can do the test and actually perform well. So don't, leave your ego at the door.
Yeah. Yeah. So give it a try. Like Sam said, he also has similar progression for the 2K. So if you really need to improve your 2K, maybe he has time to hit a consult with you and discuss this kind of stuff. But yeah, great test. We went all over that. It's really not that bad. It's definitely worth the experience. It would probably be a really fun progression to do with someone else. Have someone there with you, do the 10-minute assault bike test with you. Pick you up when you're feeling down. Find someone to bike with, and if they do bike with you, they're probably a real one, probably a good training partner. Sam wouldn't do it with me.
No. Yeah, 207.
I mean, you don't have to get the same score. You'd probably be pretty close. There's no way you're not close to 200. Those long femurs.
No, I was going to say, I was trying to figure out if I'd be close to you right now. I'd be like,
If you held
maybe.
70,
If
you're
I
going to be
was
right
there.
there.
Yeah, if I was there with you, it might give me the boost I need to like make it a little bit more uncomfortable. But I think I would be close. I think I'd be close.
Yeah. All right, everybody. We kept it short today. Just the good stuff. Just the progressions. If for some reason you forget the progressions or you can't see them well or anything like that, just let me know and I can share this little slide with you so you can see it. If you have any questions, if you end up doing the test, please let us know or just drop down, maybe drop in the comments your assault bike score. There's no way there's a ton of people that have that ready to go, but if you do, that'd be cool. And yeah, let us know if you need anything. Let us know if you got any future topics you'd like us to hear. We're going to try and keep some episodes a little bit shorter for you guys. And if you really like the long ones, just let us know. Maybe we can schedule a long form with you. But we appreciate you guys staying with us. Any parting words, Sam?
Yeah. Go hard.
Yeah, go hard. You just have to do it. You just have to do it. Yep. Just start cranking. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. And we hope you guys have a great day.